Welcome to the Goddess Show podcast, voices of visionary women, inspiring female leaders by interviewing amazing guests to encourage us all to rise up. Enjoy. Welcome to the Goddess Show, voices of visionary women, inspiring female leaders. And I'm really excited today because we have the amazing Pauline Romao on board, and she holds a master's in business and economics, over 10 years in the tech industry, and around 8 of them, you said, in Airbnb, Pauline. She co-founded Bodhi Holistic Hub, which is amazing. So you have to check it out, a platform that connects individuals with trusted holistic health practitioners. And she's dedicated to making holistic health accessible to everyone. So I'm really honored to have you today, Pauline. Welcome.
Thank you, Chila. Happy to be here.
Oh, that's great. So my first question to you is, what motivated and inspired you to start this business?
So it really came from our own frustrations and experiences. I think it's the same for a lot of people. But both Helen, who is the person that I co-founded Body Holistic with, and myself, we had seen how powerful holistic practices can be in our lives, but we also saw how confusing it was for people to figure out where to start. And I had become the person everyone came to asking for recommendation, asking for what modality would be right for them. And, initially it was just my friend, and then it started to be the friends of my friends. And I guess, we just kept noticing this gap between, people curiosity about holistic therapies and willingness to try, and the gap with their ability to actually access them with confidence. And so after probably one too many conversations where someone asked us ask us for a recommendation, we thought that there would be a good way to actually do that. And I think coming from Airbnb, I had seen how technology can help facilitate trust between people. Like Airbnb is very different. It's like someone sharing their home with a stranger, and in this case, it's between a practitioner and someone looking for help. But yes, that's when we had the idea and why we wanted to start the platform.
That's fantastic. And I mean, after being asked by so many people, which modality is good for me, where can I go? Of course. And then seeing the gap with your background in business, I can see why this was perfect for you. So tell me, why are you passionate about it?
As I mentioned, I've seen how these practices can really change life. There was a time when I was dealing with some health issues personally, and I went through all of conventional medicine, and it's not to say that it's not useful. It is very useful, but it came to a point where I felt I wasn't getting to the root cause of my concern. And so I started exploring holistic approaches alongside my regular healthcare provider. It made such a big difference. If you think about Helen as well, she had her own personal journey with fertility, going through multiple rounds of IVF, and then she ended up using acupuncture and felt pregnant naturally as well.
Isn't
So
that
we had,
amazing?
two very different journeys, but both had experienced the power of those practices and just wanted to, more people to be able to experience those and benefit from that. And that's why we truly believe that everyone should be able to access those practices. It should not be something that you do once you've exhausted all other options. It should be a lot more complementary to conventional healthcare practices as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it takes a combination of things, doesn't it? Negating conventional medicine, it's actually complementing conventional medicine. So, on that, you mentioned you had your own kind of journey. I'd love you to share a little bit about your own inspiring story.
So before Bodhi, I spent a number of years in a tech startup world, and it taught me a lot about building businesses, about, thinking as an entrepreneur, but it always felt like something was missing for me personally. And on the side, I was constantly exploring different holistic practices. During the first lockdown, I actually even got certified in iridology because I was just so interested in that modality. And I think, for me, a real turning point as well came when I spent some time volunteering with indigenous communities. I went to Brazil for a few weeks, and it was actually very fascinating to see how, for them, everything was integrated. You know,
Wow.
the physical, the emotional, the spiritual, and over there they have a shaman, but a shaman is a doctor for your physical body as well as it is for your spiritual, emotional, and so they can give you advice on all aspects of your being. And I think from in our modern world, in a way, we've disconnected from that. And we've looked at everything very individualized. So we have a physical issue, we try to fix that specific issue from a physical point of view. But often that issue can stem from, a trauma, a stress, an emotional, something that comes from a different aspect of who you are. And I think that, that experience over there really made me realize that I wanted to try to help make, what we call alternative medicine, just normal medicine and reintroduce those practices as part of our daily life. And then, knowing Helen was just perfect because she had left. We used to work together at Airbnb. She left Airbnb to become a practitioner herself. And so, we reconnected and she brought this, really incredible practitioner perspective from her work. And I brought my experience with different therapies and more of the business background as well. And together we just knew we could create something that would make a difference as well.
Well, that sounds fantastic. And I think what you're saying actually reinforces what we really, most of us do know, and it's the mind, body, spirit connection.
Of course, yeah.
And I think you're right that in this modern world, we tend to go to doctors, and of course, with all due respect, they tend to treat symptoms rather than the root causes of things, don't they? So I think
Mhm.
what you're saying is really, really valuable. So you have told us about your business, the Bodhi Holistic Hub. So I'll move on to the next question, which is, what were the first few steps you took to get your business up and running? So to share with our viewers and listeners so that, they don't think it's an unattainable goal.
Yeah, absolutely. So we started with lots of conversation with practitioners, with potential users, with people that were just curious about holistic therapies, and we wanted to really understand the pain points from all sides before building anything. And then after that, we created like a super simple landing page explaining our concept, and we started collecting email addresses from people that were interested just to help us validate that there was an actual demand before, investing too much. And then came our first kind of big challenge, finding the right technical help and actually, building the platform because neither of us were developers. So we needed to find someone that could bring our vision to life. And we found someone to help us with that initially, and then we focused on building relationships with our first group of practitioners. We knew we needed to um, them to really buy into the mission of what we were trying to do, and to try to help set the standard for the platform as well in the long run. So initially we started very small. We met in person with each of them personally, trying to make sure they understood what we're doing as well. And then I think, looking back, we probably could have launched faster with a more minimal version, but we were super committed to getting the core experience right, and so we took the time that we needed. But yeah, it's always possible. It's just I think a lot of people have ideas, and it's just taking it step by step, little by
I
little.
think what you're saying about taking it step by step is really, really important because the whole thing can seem so overwhelming. And
Hmm.
especially when you're bringing stakeholders together, you had to do your market research. I mean, first you have your discussions, then you do your market research to find out if there is an actual gap. Then you have to find the technical the personnel that will put it all together and the practitioners, the other stakeholders as well.
Hmm.
Of course, it can all seem really overwhelming, but if you take it step by step by step, it's the best answer to overwhelm, isn't it?
Exactly. And you know, we often say, even when you have to start something, they say, just do the initial 10%. Just
Yeah.
get started. And then you do that, and then it feels easier because when you look at, as you said, the big task ahead of you, it feels impossible, but just get started and then you'll see.
Oh, that's great advice. Thank you so much. So tell me, what have been your biggest challenges so far, would you say?
I think again, being non-technical founders, building a tech platform was definitely, one of our big challenge. We had this vision, but we struggled to translate it into technical requirements. So we made some costly mistake early on. I think like a lot of other people do, we chose the wrong person, the wrong technology because we just didn't know any better. So that was a big one. And then I think the second aspect, the second challenge was when you build a marketplace, which is what, Bodhi is about, there's always the chicken and egg problem. Right?
Yeah.
Do you start building supply or do you start building demand and how to balance both of them? And we decided to go with building supply first, meaning, making sure we add practitioners on the platform. But it was a little bit tricky as well because initially, practitioner wants to make sure that you also have enough clients. So
Mm.
that was always, that initial cycle took a lot of creativity and hustle as well. And then funding has been another, reality that we've had to navigate. We've bootstrapped, which means that every dollars matter. And so
Mm.
we had to be very strategic as well about where we invest our limited resources.
That's really great to hear in terms of the actual reality of starting your business, isn't it? Because all startups need funding. There's no
Hmm.
doubt about that. And most startups do bootstrap. And I have to say that I relate to what you're saying from a technical perspective myself, because I personally took my business online in 2019. I had no idea about online business. So it was a huge learning curve. And I too, I mean, this is what I think a really important message here is outsourcing, isn't it? When you don't know how to do something, you find people who know how to do it. And it is very much trial and error as well.
Yeah, but one thing that I've learned, I think you need to understand enough yourself so that you know if that, external person that you're hiring to do the work is legit as well. And that's the
Yeah,
tricky part
yeah, yeah.
because I think initially we were a bit naive and trusted,
Mm.
everything that we were told. And that's, with insight, we probably should have done more research on our end and made sure we understood what we were talking about more before we started to look for someone. Because then easily they could tell us, things that sounded great, but the reality was that it was different. So I think that's something that I've learned, you know, building the Body Holistic Hub is yes, it's super important to find the right people to work with and to outsource, but it's always important that you have a basic level of understanding yourself
Mm.
before going out and searching for that person.
Again, that's really great advice. Thank you so much. I mean, I can relate to that as well because I fell into traps and I did believe people and it can happen. So
Mhm.
tell me, how do you keep motivated through difficult times? What's your secret?
I think the user stories keep me going through tough days. When someone shares how, thanks to the platform, they found the right practitioner and that person helped them, manage stress or chronic pain and they had been struggling for years. I think that just reminds me exactly why we started doing this. So that's really helpful. And I think also the practitioner community is a huge source of motivation. Every day we get to speak and work with people that are so passionate about the work that they're doing. They really want to help, and knowing that we can help them do that, that's very rewarding. So yeah, I think I've learned to also celebrate the small wins along the way, because in
Important, isn't it?
yeah, because in startup life, like you always have those big, huge milestone,
Mm.
uh, but it can take really a long time to get there. So finding those smaller wins, finding joy in the daily progress really helps sustain the energy as well for the long term.
I absolutely agree. And it's just there's something really moving about just watching those outcomes and seeing it's so heartwarming, isn't it? It makes you feel like you're doing something right. And I should tell our viewers and listeners also that I'm part of the Bodhi Holistic platform as well. So tell me, what is the best advice you've received recently, if any?
So something that I heard recently, someone said, build a business that only you can build. And I think that really stuck with me because there are plenty of platform out there, but none that combine our unique background, our specific passion for holistic practices, and our vision. I think, as we talked about, it is challenging to build a business. There are ups and downs, and you really need to go with something that you're truly passionate about and that you've got some unique skills to be able to build.
I think, are you referring to having a unique selling proposition? That's what they call it in business, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, I guess that would be part of that as well. Yeah,
But also it's I think that just as, we all have our own fingerprint, we all have our own unique gift to share with the world as
of
well.
course. Yeah.
And so I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but my perception of what you said was bringing your own authenticity into whatever you do so that it is unique. Is that
Yeah.
what you meant by that?
Yeah, and I think, sometimes you can find online lots of different ideas, like you should do this business and this type of business, you can make a lot of money, but it didn't come from you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're referring to is finding what you're truly passionate about, what really, is, as you said, the what you can bring to this world, because that's going to make then what you're doing truly unique.
I think living your own purpose and passion as well really helps you along those difficult times because when your why is so strong and you're doing what you love, then that's what
Hmm.
keeps you going as well, isn't it?
For sure, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me, what advice would you give to other aspiring female entrepreneurs?
I'd say find your people. You know,
Find your
building a
people.
Yeah, building a business can be lonely, and having a community of, other founders who understand your journey is really, really invaluable. So, look for networks, especially ones with other women who might be facing similar challenges. Um, and another thing is, I would say, is maybe don't wait until everything is perfect to start. I think,
Oh, yeah.
as women, we tend to be very like perfectionist, and compared to men, sometimes they have a lot more confidence and they go and just get started. And we tend to, think through something for years before we actually do it. No, just, you know, I think I've learned so much more by just getting something out there and then improving it based on, the feedback that you're getting.
That's great. Thank you so much, Pauline. So, my next question to you is, what are your favorite current business tools, resources, and why?
So we use, and I think a lot of people do that now, but for communication, we use Slack with our team and our contractor. I don't know if you're familiar with this tool yourself, Tula, but I just find that the ability to organize conversation by channel keeps everything, from getting mixed together, and also it integrates with most of our tools. I think Canva as well. It's been a lifesaver. When you've got
Especially
limited.
now. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, go for it.
Especially now that there's AI generation in it as well.
Exactly. I think, when you have limited budget, you have to do a lot yourself. And I think finding the right tool to just facilitate that. So, Canva, you can create some very professional looking flyers, social media content, marketing material without needing a graphic designer. And
Yeah,
so, very useful, I
fantastic.
think.
Thank you for that. What are your goals and how are you striving to achieve them?
So
Next, that's a big one, isn't it?
yeah, I think our immediate goal is really to become the go-to platform for holistic well-being. And we're working towards this by continuously expanding our practitioner network, but we want to also maintain our strict vetting standard. Um, Also creating more educational content and helping from that way. And then that's starting in Sydney and New South Wales because that's where we started.
Mhm.
But medium term, we want to expand to all of Australia. We started to onboard practitioners in Melbourne, in Brisbane. I'm running an event this week in Byron Bay, so we're really already laying the groundwork to become not only a Sydney-based platform but an Australia-wide platform. And then long term. I think we see Bodhi as being a very comprehensive ecosystem that supports both client and practitioners throughout their entire journey. So not just looking at how can you book a session with a practitioner, but how can you get ongoing education, tools, community, etc. to maintain your well-being.
That's an amazing goal. And I can see it going, growing and growing, not just over Australia, but I mean, you could go global, couldn't you, really?
Yeah,
It's a
that'd
big
be
job, though, isn't it? It's a
yeah.
big job. Okay, so my next question to you is, are you currently running any promos, contests, or have any giveaways to offer our viewers and listeners?
So we often advertise those either on our social media, on our Instagram page, or on our newsletter. So we don't have one right at the moment, but we often have, different ones coming through. Also, anyone who sign up to our newsletter, they always get a discount on their first booking. So that's kind of always always available. And then because again, it's about the practitioner. So we do have practitioners running certain promo. So at the moment, for example, one of our new practitioners, she's a really interesting. She does what she called holistic facials. So they are facials, but mixed with kinesiology and energy healing, which is quite fascinating.
Amazing.
And so she's running like kind of an initial discount as she recently joined.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. So we're going to get to how we can connect with you in a couple of questions' time. But what I think you're saying is that if you get onto your platform, the different providers have their own giveaways and promos and things like that, which is really, really useful. So
Mhm.
my next question to you is, what would you say to inspire other women?
That's a tough one. I'd say, your perspective matters. Um, the experiences, insights, and wisdom that you've gained throughout your life, including the challenges as well, give give you a unique lens that no one else has. Again, going back to what we were talking about before. And that perspective could be exactly what's needed to solve a problem or create something meaningful. Um, so so I think, listen to yourself, listen to see what you have to offer.
That's brilliant advice. Thank you so much. So, my last question to you, which is really important, is how can we connect with you?
So the best way to connect with us is through our website, which is bodyholistichub.com. You can explore the platform, you can check our learning hub, you can book a session with one of our amazing practitioners, including Tula as well. We're also active on social media at Body Holistic Hub. We share a lot of, useful content, practitioner spotlight, as well. And then if you're a practitioner potentially interested in joining Bodhi, we've got a specific section on our website as well, where you can learn more about the vetting process and submit an application. And then I'm always happy to connect personally on LinkedIn. I love chatting with, other founders or anyone really interested in a holistic well-being space. So you can find me on LinkedIn, and I'd love to connect.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Pauline. And just for our listeners and viewers, I just want to spell Bodhi for you, which is BHODI, holistic, as in HOLISTIC, so that you get it right when you're typing in the website address. And the other thing on LinkedIn, are you under Pauline Romao or is it under Bodhi Holistic Hub?
Both are available.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I encourage our viewers and listeners to sign up to the mailing, because that's how you get all those amazing offers, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. We send a regular newsletters. We introduce our new practitioners, special offers, promos. We also um, have a section where we highlight all different type of holistic and conscious events that are happening all across Australia. So,
That sounds like fun.
workshop, women's circle, sun healing event, all of that. So we will also do that.
Fantastic. And I think it's important to point out as well that this is a call out for practitioners too.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're always looking for, practitioners that are passionate about what they do and want to find a way to, get more exposure and find more clients as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time and all that amazing advice that you gave today, Pauline.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Chula. It was a pleasure.
It was fun. Okay, bye for now.
Bye bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Goddess Show podcast. We hope you've enjoyed it. And if you did, feel free to like, subscribe, share, and we look forward to seeing you next time.